Simon Told Helen wins a half length. Zach Manelli second.
Welcome to Greyhound Gossip.
Peaky Blinders start cheering for Tommy Shelby wins the WA Sprint Championship final.
Featuring Peter O'Neill and Leia Ernest.
Mozza moves up to Mermaid Manelli. Fab's Gem 3 deep. Here comes Fab's Gem.
Hard Style Rico by 5 lengths to Simon Told Helen. Third Tommy Shelby.
This segment is dedicated to the discussion and promotion of greyhound racing.
Cindy's Oliver, Rockstar Patriot, Paul Stewart, back-to-back with Rockstar Patriot in the Galaxy.
Handsome Prince, a bolder clear. The former Tasmanian Handsome Prince has won the $1 million chase.
And a very good morning, everyone, and welcome to Greyhound Gossip. Little Leia Ernest is not well this morning, so we wish her the best of luck, but she'll be back hopefully next week with us. And I'm doing Greyhound Gossip for the first time out at Cannington this morning, and it's a beautiful day, a little bit of cloud above, and I can tell you there's some birds in the middle called white ibis. They're a grazing, wading bird, and they're out grazing on the grass as we speak, about 20 of them. There's also track staff out doing a little bit of welding on the track, and track staff cleaning up after a big night here on Saturday night with the Group 2 All-Stars being the feature. So good morning, everyone. Also this week, of course, we've got the closing of the Sandgrope of the slot racing, the westerntrilogy.com.au for all the details, and David Shortte will join us a little bit later on. Yesterday we had the panel sit to decide the final field for the Top Gun, which will be named on the catching pen tomorrow, and Ron Hawkswell, who's called, I think, 28 or 29 Top Guns. He'll be joining us a little bit later on in the program. We started off with a very good weekend of greyhound racing with the Nambulla Cup heats down at Mandurah on Friday, and Firecloud for Colleen Pearson bounced back on the winners list after dropping back in grade, defeating Forward Scout. Jimmy Rocks won the second heat for the birthday boy Justin Wood over No Limit Needed, and then Jumpin' Jules caused an upset for Rod Noden, crossing from box number 8, defeating Trump Manelli and Forge Manelli for Morgan Turner. He had a good night on Friday and also Saturday night with numerous winners, defeating Bundigi and also West on Finn. So that race coming up on Friday night, the Nambulla Cup, which was formerly known as the Sandgroper, a name change with our first slot race being called the Sandgroper next April. But let's go back to Saturday night, and what a race it was. Outstanding group of 8 greyhounds coming together. No greyhound had ever won the Group 2 All-Star Sprint before, and this is how the race was run and won. Racing, Amplified, Vice Grip, they came out together. Vice Grip bumped with Amplified and went up on the outside of Electrified. They eyeballed each other into the first corner. In behind them was Unsee This, Jimmy's Decision, then followed by Amplified, who hunts up on the inside. Throttle, well back in the field, rostered off. Stone Cold Augie down the back. Electrified, the leader, out by 2. Vice Grip needs to dig deep, then followed by Jimmy's Decision and Unsee This on the corner. Electrified, here comes Vice Grip to the outside. Electrified, Vice Grip coming now. Vice Grip over the top, back to back. Second goes the way of Electrified, then followed by Throttle, Jimmy's Decision. In behind them, Unsee This, Amplified. Well back, Stone Cold Augie, and rostered off, and he becomes the first greyhound in history in Western Australia to win 2 All-Stars. Yeah, well done to the connections, and a great training performance by Adam Smithson. Hasn't he improved this greyhound since he's come into his care? Of course, he represented the Dogs WA in the first ever Phoenix last year, and last year he took out the Group 2 All-Stars, his first Group 2 final. Early this year he took out the Group 1 Perth Cup. He's won the Group 3 Birthday Cup. He's been a remarkable chaser. He's now won in excess of $510,000. Yep, $510,000, and becomes the first greyhound in history to win 2 All-Star finals. And Adam Smithson, as I mentioned, has done a remarkable job, and he joins us this morning on Greyhound Gossip. Adam, congratulations to you and the family. Great training performance and a great win by your wonderful chaser there on Saturday night.
Yeah, morning, Pete. Thanks. He's, like you said, he's just a freak of a dog. He puts it together on the right night.
What's the reasons for that? Do you do anything different between the heat and the final?
No, that's the thing I can't get my head around. Nothing changes. It just, he knows. I think he just feels the occasion and rises to it.
Yeah, and he rose to the occasion there on Saturday night. Electrified, he's a chaser on the rise. He's won 13 of 16. He'd won 10 of 11 going into that race, and the fact that he'd drawn box number 1, he found the lead so easily. It was going to take a good dog to be able to run him down, and your dog had to really dig deep, and he lowered the track record by a length, lowering Alicante Boucher's 2019 record, setting a really slick 29.69, which you would have been wrapped with.
Yeah, I think you nailed it in the call, Pete, when he really did have to dig in to get there, and he's just one of those dogs. He he just doesn't like to be beaten. I think he just, he puts his head down and he just keeps coming. It just blows me away how he does it, but just the ultimate professional. And for him to be going as well 12 months later, he's a beast of a dog.
It's a difficult job for a trainer and a young trainer. Your family, obviously, with your mum and dad behind you, have given you some advice along the way. But is it just the dog that takes everything in his stride that he's been able to stay out for such a long period of time?
Yeah, I think so. He's one of those dogs. He does everything right. He works well, and as a rule, he pulls up very well. So I think the spacing of his runs once he sort of came through the Perth Cup, he's getting a bit on in age, and I think he enjoys having those breaks in between 10 or so starts, and it just keeps him fresh and keeps him happy. And he's, like I said, he's just the ultimate professional.
I know the Four Frothy Syndicate have loved the ride that they've had with you, and of course you went across to the Phoenix last year. I'll talk about the possibility of maybe going back again this year and whether there's been any communication. But before that, has he surprised you and the connections on how good he's been able to get? And to get to $510,000 in stake money is remarkable for a greyhound.
Yeah, I think so. I think when he first came here, he was just going to be a dog to go through the grades, but he just kept getting better and better, and he just loves WA, and especially Caddington. You look at his form; he just thrives there, and he's gotten to a point and held his form. So it's just blown us away, really.
I'm going to talk to Ron Hawkswell shortly, and while it's under wraps until it's announced on Tuesday on the catching pen, he was obviously in discussions yesterday, Vice Grip, for the Top Gun. Would you be keen to go across if he does get selected in the field?
Yeah, 100%. We'll look at heading over there, probably for the Melbourne Cup Series as well. So hopefully we can get a run in the Top Gun, and we'll get him over there as soon as we can.
And has there been any discussions yet? I know there's already been 2 slots that have been filled for the Phoenix. Has there been any discussions with any of the slot holders in regards to Vice Grip maybe representing them?
No, not as far as I know. I'm not sure if the owners have been approached, but no, there's nothing that I've heard.
You'd certainly be keen, obviously, to go back there if he gets another opportunity and gets invited.
Yeah, definitely. Just the way the dog's going at the moment, he's still showing that he's at his best, so it'd be interesting if he did get a run. But we'll just sort of control what we can and head towards the Melbourne Cup Series.
Well done with him. It was a remarkable win and a great race there on Saturday night. One of the best fields that we've seen in a All-Star Sprint final for many, many years. It was also a very good win by Zarbel, who returned to the track. Hadn't seen him since he ran that gallant second in the Nationals distance final. You must have been really pleased with his win to be able to get over Pilbara and also Soda Seville there on Saturday.
Yeah, he's another one. He's just a strange dog. His stamina it just blows you away. He only had a few trials. While the trials were super, I thought he'd sort of find the 700 first up a bit challenging late, but he's just a dog. He just keeps coming. I think he'd run a kilometre if you let him.
Would you travel with him to Melbourne or the eastern states as well?
Yeah, I think we will. If he surrounds himself with better dogs, I think he goes better. So we'll probably look to see what's coming up over the next few months and head for a couple of races.
Good on you, mate. Really proud of what you're doing as a trainer, and you'd be wrapped with having a little bit of prize money to take home as well to the family. Congratulations with both of those wins on Saturday night, especially Vice Grip, and for him to be able to join an elite group of greyhounds that have already won the race, but to be the first greyhound to win it twice is a remarkable feat. Well done. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Pete. See you later.
Good on you. Adam Smithson, he's a young trainer. He's on the rise. He speaks very well, and he's a great asset to the WA greyhound industry. Speaking of great assets to the greyhound industry in a whole throughout the world, not only Australia but the world, is our next special guest, and that is Ron Hawkswell. We spoke yesterday with the panel, and while we can't announce the final field, that will be announced on the catching pen tomorrow. In regards to the Top Gun and the Top Gun stayers, a man who's been involved with the Top Gun for many, many years is our next special guest, and that is Ron Hawkswell. Hawk, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, Peter, and good morning, everybody.
We can't say who's going to be in the final field, but looking at Tab Touch, they've got Wow She's Fast, the favourite at $3.20, and you'd think she'd be a walk-up start, and Super Australia at $3 in the stayers. There's also already been some good support for a few of these runners in what is a great race that was started many, many years ago.
Absolutely, Pete. Yeah, you'd have to say those shoe-ins, wouldn't you? Where's his fast? Also, Super Australia. Marvellous race, a fantastic race, of course. And this was a race that was introduced thought up by Bill Collins, the late and great Bill Collins. Bill wanted a race similar to the Cox Plate, I suppose you might say. He wanted a special race for greyhound racing. It was his idea, that the Top Gun, and it originated from there. By gee, it stood the test of time, and it's a race where it's an absolute honour for connections to get an invitation to the race, let alone a start in the race, but all the connections I know value it immensely, even if they just get the invitation. But of course, it's the icing on the cake if they make the final field.
I remember talking to you prior to the first ever running back in 1993, and it was a big lead up, as you mentioned. I think Channel 10 might have been covering the race live, and unfortunately there was wet conditions and there was a driving finish and a really close finish in the first.
Yeah, it was indeed, Pete. It was a fantastic finish. Actually, it resulted into a dead heat. The judge couldn't separate them, worth backing in golden currency, and a nose where third is revealing. You're right. It was something that was Sandown ran, of course, around the race that year, and it was the idea of Sandown, the GRB, they wanted to try and get on national TV, and they structured a deal with Channel 10, and what it was, they slotted the race in between the movie break, 9:28 to 9:30, I think it was somewhere around there. But they had to slot the race, and it had to be absolute to precision. Everything was worked out, the timing of the connections going to the boxes, everything was worked out so that the race would slot in that ad break, and it got to air. But it was such a great finish. The judge took so long because it's got to be right. It's got to be the right decision that the TV station had to go back to the movie. And I suppose you might say punters work for Meddy, but that's the way it panned out. Worth backing, dead heating with golden currency and a noseway third, revealing that was the inaugural running of the race back in 1993, and Bill Collins actually called the race next door to me. It was something you never forget, something like that, and the start of a great race.
Yeah, and it built, didn't it? Because only a few years later there was greyhounds invited across from Ireland, the UK and the United States to compete against Australia's best.
Yeah, that's indeed so, Pete. Yes, the race took on a different perspective then. That's the case, and it's certainly a race at the time. As I said, there have been some fantastic winners over the years. So you go down the Western, one of your great champions over the Rapid Journey was a winner in 1998, and you have a look at the winners like Bombastic Shiraz in 2003, Whiskey Assassin won a wonderful greyhound in 2004. Down the Western, you're leaving Cindy Shelby, absolutely magnificent. The local, of course, Old Grand Institute for Caroline Jones. And then over the years, the Tasmanian, striking photo back off Wes for Teddy Medhurst, and the mighty Fernando Bell in 2015, uphill Joe in 2017. Then I got a great throw in 2021, a great mate of mine for many years, David Gleason, of course. He partnered with his a business partner, Bob Tonter, with Midi Greyhounds, and Shimmer Shine took out the Top Gun in 2020, and then, of course, the Flying Machine last year. Aston repeats a race that's absolutely steeped in tradition. This year will mark the 30th running. The race was first run back in 1993, and it really is one of the great races on the greyhound calendar each year.
You've mentioned some champions of the greyhound world that have won the Top Gun, and you mentioned the Tasmanian. You didn't mention the year before. I don't know if you remember 2013. The Wheelers won, I think it was their third consecutive Top Gun, with a WA-trained chaser in Dinah Narlin, who'd won the Perth Cup and went across, and I think at around about $9 or $10 was successful in the Group 1 Classic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They trained by Paul Stewart, 29.89. Dinah Narlin ran back in 2013. I know I've missed some great winners along the line there, but it's a fantastic honour list, and I'm sure this year both the sprinting and the staying races are going to be fantastic events.
What makes it so special? Do you think it's because it's an invitation race, and trainers and owners around Australia wait for those invitations to come out and then wait for the final field to be selected?
Yeah, I think it's that, Pete. I think that's the main thing about it. There's a lot of intrigue and mystique about the race, and there's a lot of excitement and also disappointment, no doubt. I just think the fact that that's the reason why this race is so popular, and so people are so anxious, as owners and trainers are so anxious to get a berth in the big race.
You and I are both on the panel, and of course with Jason Lincoln there's always going to be some robust discussions, and there was a fair bit of robust discussion about both finals because of the depth of the Australian greyhound sprinters and stayers at the moment.
Yeah, indeed so. But that's what it needs to be too, because we've come up with what we believe is the right field, and that's, getting the opinions of all those on the panel and then making a final decision. That's what it's all about, and everybody's got to put their point forward, and it's got to be assessed by the panel, and then we come up with a decision that we believe is the right one.
Well, it'll be announced on the catching pen tomorrow, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of WA flavour in both of those finals coming up in a couple of weeks' time. You must be really looking forward to it. It is a big start to the Melbourne Greyhound calendar, of course. Not only the Top Gun, we then lead into the Melbourne Cup, and the Phoenix is starting to build as well.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year for greyhound racing. In fact, for all three cars, the greyhound racing has gone to that extra level now, and those big races are certainly something we always look forward to. And I'm sure there's going to be some great winners of those various events in the big events coming up next few weeks in the state.
Thanks for joining us this morning, Hawk. It was great to catch up with you yesterday on the panel, and you're an ornament to our sport. You're a great man. You've been calling for 50 years, as we had you on the program earlier on. Keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks so much, Pete, and everybody stay safe and well.
Good on you. Ronnie Hawkswell joining us. He's a great man, and he's been around for a long period of time. A man who would know the Hawk well is our next special guest, and that is David Shortte. How are you, Shorty?
I'm very well, thanks, Pete. Good morning to you. Everyone tuned in to the program. Yeah, the Hawk, absolute legend of the sport, wonderful broadcaster, and a man that has basically been involved in our great industry for his entire life. He's dedicated his life to the sport of greyhound racing, and great to hear him on TAB radio this morning.
And Adam Smithson was earlier on. What a remarkable job he's done, and what a great greyhound vice grip has been. The first ever greyhound to win 2 All-Stars, and he's obviously going to be in contention, you would think, for a slot in the Phoenix. And I've got you on to talk about the Sandgroper, our own slot race, which is coming up in April, and the slot holders will have to make a decision and put their applications in this week by going on to westerntrilogy.com.au. But, gee, it was a good win, wasn't he? He had to really dig deep, vice grip.
Oh, big time. And Peter, let's not downplay just how special this dog's been. I mean, you've just nailed it. He's obviously the first greyhound to achieve that feat, back-to-back All-Stars at Group 2 level. Of course, he took out the Group 1 Perth Cup only a few weeks ago, took out the Group 3 Mandurah Cup. When the big races have been on, vice grip has just turned up to play. There's no way around it. I thought the Perth Cup Series this year was really hot too. There was some very good quality opposition that came across and had a crack at it. He came up with an awkward draw in the final, won on that occasion. Back-to-back Group 2 All-Stars, which is traditionally been a really tough race to win. The dog's CV is second to none. Absolutely superb, and Adam Smithson deserves all the credit. He's done an amazing job with the dog.
He certainly has. He's now won $510,000. He said he's heading across to Melbourne for some rich races over the next few weeks and month. He then has to try and get him up for the Perth Cup and keep him up for what will be our Sandgroper, a $500,000 race next year. He's the ideal greyhound, isn't he? And so too, probably the majority of this field. Electrified's a young pup coming through, a greyhound who's only just turned 2 years of age. That was his 16th start, and to be able to lead, and for Vice Grip, who's won $500,000 in stake money, having to run a new race record to beat him, just shows his depth and quality as well.
Oh, no doubt. No, I think Electrified, just have a look at the winning strike rate. It tells the story. This dog's just been a winning machine for Crystal and Steve Shinners, and, it's an up-and-comer, there's no doubt about it. Throttle, obviously, enormous again on the weekend. He's such an exciting chaser. I think outside of that, you're probably starting to maybe look for some of the up-and-comers by the time this race comes around, Pete. So there might be some sort of fresh blood on the scene, but I know that Big Energy's a dog that's been talked about a little bit as a potential sort of top liner in 6 months' time. Elite Machine itself was excellent again there on Saturday night. Could be the sort of dog that could emerge as a real top liner. Columbus Manelli, of course, we saw win over the 600 metres on Saturday, but it went across and was runner-up in the SA Derby. Is another dog that's obviously got a fair bit of upside. And Dave Hobby's got a stack of these young dogs that we don't know a lot about just yet, that I'm sure will continue to sort of develop in the coming months. So there's a fair bit there in and around the place at the moment. I felt that Group 2 All-Stars on Saturday night, Pete, was probably worthy of a really big race itself, as it turned out. And there's a stack of stars on the East Coast. There's quite a bit of water to go under the bridge and a few months to go. But just listening to Jo Lanuti last week on Great Grace, she's a pearl, looks to be back on track. Obviously, Wow She's Fast is one of the most exciting greyhounds in the nation right now. There are a stack of stars over on the East Coast that I'm sure will be thinking about throwing their hat in the ring as well. So it's really exciting, the potential for this race and where it might head.
And the big thing is it's not the greyhound that throws their hat in the ring. It's more so who's going to buy the slot and then grab those greyhounds and entice them to run for them. Who do you think they'll be? Do you think they'll be the trainers from Western Australia or syndicates from the East Coast, or maybe even betting firms that we've seen get involved with the Phoenix again this year?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Pete, and it's obviously a really new space. So it's the great unknown to a degree as to exactly who will tin up and buy these slots. I think it's probably quite appealing to a lot of sort of corporate bookmakers and the like. We've certainly seen that with the Phoenix. There's been, as with the Phoenix, there might be some other race clubs that could put their hat in the ring as well and say, we'll do something similar to what we did last year and run a series to have a representative to come across and represent their state in the race. There's lots of different ways that this can go. So be interesting to see how the next little patch does come about and exactly who ends up with the slots, that's for sure and certain.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. You've got till, I think it's Wednesday this week, go on to westerntrilogy.com.au and the $500,000 Sandgroper. That is great prize money on offer, and find out all the details, terms and conditions, and put your slot applications in this week. Shorty, we appreciate your time. Just before I let you go, I'm about to head up the highway to Northam, of which you've done many, many times before. But before I let you go, Ryan Levitsky tipped me yesterday, said you've got to back India, and gee whiz, what a game.
That was one of the most incredible sporting contests I have ever witnessed, Pete. And to think both sides at different stages of the game look to be out of it and then they're back in it, and then the theatre of the last over. One thing you can guarantee out of it is that the King's back. Virat Kohli was absolutely sublime there for India. So, yeah, amazing game of cricket. And, that's just the second day of, tournament play effectively for the entirety of the tournament. If that's the entree, I hate to see what the main's going to dish up. So I can't wait. And plenty of options with Tab Touch if you're looking to have a punt on the T20 World Cup over the next few weeks.
I thought it might have been an easier way to earn $1.52, Shorty, but gee, I enjoyed it and it was great. I thought I was gone for all money, but great way to see cricket. And as you mentioned, it continues in Australia, playing tomorrow night here in Perth. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to finding out who the slot holders will be in the Sandgroper. westerntrilogy.com.au. Enjoy your week, and we'll look forward to catching up with you later on in the week.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. And just quickly, a quick shout-out to everybody that was involved yesterday as well, with Kath Harris and all the crew raising money for Telethon on the bikes there. Super effort. Really proud of everyone from our industry that got involved and donated. Well done to everyone.
Yep, remarkable effort. That's Greyhound Gossip, the first at Northam today. Thanks, Shorty. Comes up at 12:31. So we'll be heading up the highway, hopefully finding a winner or two, and looking forward to catching up with you later on in the week with chasing winners. And the man who's in good form is Jesse Earnshaw, and he's about to take you through race day.